You'll see Florida State in white wearing those light pink numbers for their Paint It Pink game. Trying to raise money for breast cancer awareness and local people who have suffered from that and their families. Let's love the game now from Tallahassee. Jen Hildreth, Lori Lindsay on the call with you for this top 25 matchup in the ACC. Florida State 3-2-1 in conference play. Virginia 3-4-0, both needing points to move up in those ACC standings. Top 6 teams make it to the conference tournament. Virginia in the Navy on the road. This is Huff on it early for Florida State. And Virginia well aware of keeping a lot of numbers around number 3 for the Seminoles. Heather Gilchrist back in the middle of that now back 3 for the Seminoles. Cameron Simmons willing to go up over the top for Jordan Dudley. Big part of that NCAA championship team last year as a rookie for Florida State, number 11 in white. ACC Freshman of the Year touches it down, Laura Dantas. Ball put through off the post. Florida State starting out on the front foot through Sophia Wynn.
Well, it's an excellent start for Florida State because they knew they wanted to move the ball, put Virginia under pressure early on. That didn't miss by much. It was a ball that's looking to play across, but just misses that top corner. Wonderful start, making it difficult for Virginia to be able to get out of their own half. Very much a team that's still looking for confidence. Had a big win against Boston College over the weekend for Florida State. The 2 previous losses before them had them a little bit at angst in terms of their confidence and where they are as a team. So integrating players back in, finding the rhythm, and it starts here tonight in terms of a confident start in these opening minutes.
And while this is a fairly young Florida State team, there is veteran leadership on that far side of the wing back with Ron Ey. On this side, Sophia Wynn is a junior. So there are some of those more experienced players scattered around. Huff is one as well. Ey pops it up, and that will go out of play. Lori, let's get some of your keys to this match for the Seminoles first.
Yeah, for Florida State, it really is all about the fast start. We just saw a wonderful opportunity, moving the ball quickly. So getting and putting this Virginia team under pressure. And then also this Virginia team, we know that they want to have possession. Once they get a hold of the ball, they want to get an expansive shape. And so for Florida State, it's about limiting that. That does start with their pressure higher up the field and see if they can turn them over and pin them in to their defensive half. And then Virginia, it's about managing this game early. Already under pressure, so can they stay calm and then work their way into the game by keeping possession at the right moments, not taking too many risks, and when they do get a hold of the ball, go forward quickly, go forward with confidence.
Dantas stepping onto it. And Godfrey sees one of her first touches of the game for Virginia, just puts it out of play. Steve Swanson, Virginia's head coach, telling us a couple of times his team has conceded early in conference play. There have been 3 of their games where they have conceded within the first 20 minutes. And starting strong was certainly something he'd be talking to his team about tonight. They did that when they picked up their win against NC State at home. We had that game on ACC Network last Thursday. McDermott scoring within the first minute of that match. Soleil Washington trying to turn the corner, part of the 2 front, which something that Brian Pensky really liked, having some more support up there, making it a little tougher to defend Jordan Dudley all alone.
Well, and Jordan Dudley, number 11, obviously going to keep an eye on her because a prolific goal scorer, the target for them, especially on this corner kick here that we're going to see played in.
Dudley at 5'11". Dantas coming in for an option top of the box. Now she plays it through, but that space owned by Virginia.
But because of how dangerous Dudley has been last year in particular, her freshman season, lot of teams know they need to get numbers around her. They need to have at least 2 players, and it was making it easy when they played in a 3 front for teams to double team her. So having an extra player, Washington, next to her, that gives the opposition something to think about a little bit more. And for Virginia tonight, it's going to be about those 2 center backs of Kelly. Mackey just making sure as Dudley steals that one.
Dudley doing work in the box. It deflects off a Virginia defender. Dantas picks it up. Dantas, a part of Brazil's U20 team at the World Cup. There were 4 U.S. players, including Dudley and Gilchrist, in this starting 11 for the Seminoles. The U.S. finishing 3rd in that tournament, so they went all the way till the end, the 3rd place match. Long time away for those players, missing 6 games. This the 5th game back for most of them.
Oh, and just to finish that thought in the thinking of Brian Pinsky and Florida State for the 2 front is just to allow and see if they can get Dudley in 1v1 situations by having another forward closer to Dudley that occupies the other center back. We just saw a moment ago in the last attack from Florida State, Dudley getting freed up, looking to go 1v1. Really well done defensively from Virginia. They're going to have to be spot on, especially inside the 18-yard box defensively tonight, with the versatility of Washington, Dudley, their ability to take players on.
Not sure Virginia anticipated this formation from Florida State. Yes, the Seminoles played this in their last match, but typically this has been a 4-3-3 team, and so it will be interesting to see tonight how Virginia adjusts. Michael Laverne, our referee, in the center for this match tonight.
Well, and typically when you are faced with a 3-5-2 type formation, it is about breaking that first line of pressure. That's where for Virginia it's about just finding the moments when to penetrate. Really well done right there from Galvin to break the first line. Then you can possess higher up the field. That pushes Florida State back, forces the wing backs to have to drop into the back line, and it makes it much more difficult for them to be able to get numbers higher up the field.
Look at the space here for Godfrey as she gets it from Galvin and goes all the way to the other side. Bradley loves to run at people, the freshman out of Wayne, New Jersey. Lainey Rouse, the player you mentioned, one of 2, along with Maura Kelly at the center back spot, who have started every match for Virginia this season.
It's a good glimpse of this Virginia team when they are in possession, just how much more confidently they're starting to move the ball as of late. And it's allowing them to make better decisions, moving it quickly, decisively, and then their shape behind the ball is much better as well because they're in tighter, close-knit angles to one another. That's going to be important in this game because immediately when that ball is turned over, even if Florida State picks it off deep in their own half, they have the ability individually and collectively to go in transition. So that's something that Virginia's going to have to be mindful of when they do have the majority of possession.
Foul coming from Mimi Van Zanten, so that'll concede the free kick to Virginia. Van Zanten playing a little out of position from where we're used to seeing her last year in her freshman year, member of the ACC all-freshman team, really attacking-minded outside back, now having to stay home a bit more as one of those 3 center backs in this formation. That being said, you no doubt will see her get forward a few times. Lainey Rouse ready for Virginia. She'll leave it and now get it back. Rouse, the player, missed all of last season as well. Another big injury that Virginia had to suffer. Puts it into the box and eventually into the gloves of Addie Todd, sophomore goalkeeper for the Seminoles.
It's a good idea from Virginia. They know if they just whip that ball in, Florida State is going to have the primary height advantage to be able to win the initial ball. So they go short, look to see if they can create a little bit of havoc defensively for Florida State. Just needs to be a bit of a better ball because it's an easy grab for Todd with that service into the box.
Turnover, ball winds up at the feet of Bradley. EY recovers, and then Beckman. Huff coming deep to collect as well. Kiki Mackey, senior for Virginia. Player who really did not have too many appearances in her first 3 years, just 15 appearances in her first 3 years. This is her 15th appearance of this season, 10th start. Virginia missing Alexis Theoret, a key piece in the midfield for this team, now out for her 4th straight match with injury. Dudley and Washington have great communication together. Virginia backline keeping compact, staying together as well, avoiding the initial threat, and then that's going to be a foul against the Cavaliers and McDermott.
Well, that's going to be the challenge for McDermott, because there's going to be large parts of this game where she'll be the lone striker for Virginia, and her positioning to be able to hold up the ball, not allow for Gilchrist, one of the center backs for this Florida State team, to get in front of her and win it easily. Is going to be important for them to keep possession and get out defensively for Virginia, as Florida State does a really good job to earn that corner kick, one big ball over the top, and then they're off and running and forcing Virginia to defend deep in their own half.
Yeah, one thing to watch as this match goes on, how much is number 16 and number 7, Wynn and EY, the wing backs in this formation for Florida State, how much are they getting up into the attack? And already it's been Wynn who's earned a couple of corner kicks. Now it will be EY, 5th-year midfielder. Puts it on the ground in the box for the Seminoles. Such incredible success for this Florida State program over the last few years. Obviously NCAA champions not only in 2023, but they did it in 2021. They've stampeded through the ACC, unbeaten through their entire regular season last year, in fact. Not just the ACC, but their non-conference as well. Brian Penske told us he had to remind his team, that's not normal. Ball in the box, McDermott won't be able to get to it. But his point in saying that was, look, think back to the 2018 NCAA championship team for Florida State. They went 5-4-1 that year in the ACC. You can still find your way to the College Cup to play for a national championship, even though it felt strange to this team coming off back-to-back losses. First time that Florida State had lost back-to-back ACC games since 2017.
They're certainly having to work through the adversity, but it goes back to the point that we brought up coming into this game, is just trying to find some rhythm. It hasn't been easy. This is a young team. They graduated loads of players that were really the heart and soul of this team, just had a good understanding of one another, and yards above everybody that they played last season especially. And this year, new players dealt with some injuries. We talked about the 6 players that have been gone to the U20 World Cup. Credit to them and the quality of player that they have on this team. But it's been difficult for them to be able to reintegrate those players back in, really understand the tendencies of one another with those new faces. So it's going to take time, and it's going to be about patience. And so far right now, finding some moments when to be patient, move the ball around, and see if they can really force and pin Virginia back. Important opportunity for Florida State tonight, playing at home, and start to gain even more confidence after that win against Boston College last weekend.
Both teams trying to gain control in the middle of the field. Eventually Florida State does win it through Soleil Washington. Freshman who is starting to develop a good partnership with Jordan Dudley in their limited time together. Cameron Simmons been really valuable, the transfer from Tennessee. Here she is now, number 19. She's played higher up, was scoring goals more when that was what was asked of her, when a lot of those players were away. She can step in the back, as she's doing tonight. EY calling out directions, a 2-time national champion directing Dantas, the freshman.
Well, you said it perfectly, Jen. Just keep an eye on EY, number 7, and Wynn, number 16. two wing backs for this Florida State team, and that's what it allows you to do, is you can step up the pressure if they can win it. Then you get the runs out of the midfield. That time it was Dantas, the one that played the ball in. No one there to be able to get on the end of the service, but excellent build up from one side to the next. Then they get numbers forward. Difficult to defend. That's where for Virginia, if they can't get early pressure, just drop back, make it predictable for themselves.
Chance in transition for the Cavaliers. Sophia Bradley, though, will take her time. Had McDermott, but McDermott did appear to be pretty well covered initially. Both players go down. There is no whistle on the play. EY, the one to come away with it. Una McCormack, Virginia's member of the U.S. U20 national team. So she's playing against a few of her former U.S. teammates in this matchup here tonight. She's back number 7 on the field for Virginia. Scored a goal in her first game back for the Cavaliers. Huff. Toes in out to win. One touch back central. So far, when Leah Godfrey has found her way to the ball for Virginia, it has been deep in her defensive, maybe the mid-third of the field. Can she find a way to get on the ball a little higher up? Could be one of the challenges for Virginia, but to be fair, they haven't had much of it at all, has anyone in Navy Blue thus far in this match. A lot of it's been played right here where you're watching it in Florida State's attacking half of the field. Dudley had such an incredible freshman season, ACC Freshman of the Year. First team All-American in her first year with the Seminoles, 14 goals, 9 assists. 3 goals, 3 assists on the season now for Dudley. And so far, a couple of times that Virginia has thought about trying to go fast in transition, Florida State has been up to the task.
Well, so for McCormack, as we were making the point not too long ago, can she be the post-up player? She's been excellent in terms of both sides of the ball, knowing when she can go in those 1v1 situations, but it's not on. Just post up, look to see if you can play back to goal and allow for others to join in. That's going to be an offside on Dudley, but I like that look for Florida State because they're reading the play really well on when they can go quickly, because they'll be looking for those moments as well. As soon as Virginia tries to get higher up the field, condense the field as much as possible to get closest support around McDermott higher up the field, then that leaves that space in behind the back line for Florida State to look to exploit. One big ball over the top, Dudley just a tad offside. The right idea.
Tatum Galvin, number 17 for the Cavaliers. Another one of those players in her junior year who's finally starting to come into her own. And Steve Swanson saying she's been playing so well, it's been hard to take her off the field. And he's got a player like Samar Guidry, who has been excellent for this Virginia team, who's not been fully fit. Has had a hard time getting more minutes consistently because of Galvin's play. Good moves here from Washington, but composed defending from Kelly, the grad transfer from Kansas.
And it's proven that that's why Kelly's the other one besides Rouse, who started every single game this season. Been so steady, really good speed, recovery speed as we just saw there, because Washington, one thought on her mind was go directly to goal. Third corner kick of the night for the Seminoles.
Ronnie Y ready from the corner again for Florida State. Delivery into the box, headed down and in! Seminoles strike on the set piece, and we said Taylor Huff has been quiet the last few games. I'm not sure it was her head in the end, but she found her way onto that ball and put it away.
Well, they have loads of threats in the attack, whether it's off of set pieces, whether it's in the run of play, but especially in terms of the aerial battle. It's just a ball that's floated in. They do such a good job to win this corner kick, and then Huff just peels away at the last second, breaks away from her defender, comes from a little bit of a deeper position. No one tracks her. Doesn't even have to make great contact with it because she heads it back down into the ground and past Saffredin for the opening goal of this game. What a finish that is.
It was indeed the head of Huff that makes the difference on the play.
Well, an important finish as well. A fast start for this Florida State team in front of their home crowd. And we know that goals change games, and that forces Virginia now to have to penetrate even more, come out of their shell defensively. We'll see what that looks like with the shape behind the ball, because that allows for Florida State now then to be able to also hit in transition once Virginia does start sending more numbers forward.
We mentioned it earlier that Virginia had conceded 3 times in conference play in the first 20 minutes. We'll make it 4 now, and in 2 of those previous games they lost, Duke and Wake Forest. The last one was their last game against SMU, and they came back to win that game 2-1. Free kick coming now for the Cavaliers. Maggie Cagle, do we need to see the number 10 on the ball a little bit more for the Cavaliers? She has 4 assists total in the last 2 games, 2 apiece. She and Godfrey both standing around the ball. Godfrey has been such a weapon on set pieces throughout her career at the University of Virginia. And she will be the one to deliver this ball in. No problem though for Addie Todd in the end.
Well, right now, even though they conceded that goal early in this game, it's going to be important for Virginia, once they do win possession, just to calm themselves down. That's why getting McCormick, Godfrey on the ball, start to dictate the tempo a bit more, find the right pass, just to slow them down and allow them to have a bit more of the possession, force Florida State to have to defend a bit more than we've seen. That's when they're at their best. In possession, moving the ball around.
Virginia has had the better of Florida State overall in the series, but Seminoles unbeaten in the last 5. Virginia's last win coming in 2019. And as I mentioned, a couple of those matchups coming in the College Cup, ACC championship game. Huff goes right back to Dudley near the penalty spot. Washington, point blank save. Saffredin all over the goal, keeping it out for Virginia.
Well, fantastic save from Saffredin. Reads it so well. I do feel like Dudley should have gone 1v1, go herself, be direct, look at her positioning. Instead, she's trying to play that across to Washington. It's the right pass, but Saffredin does it so well. But the initial ball in from Taylor Huff that pops off the back line, gives herself a little bit of space. It's the exact 2 things that we talked about. Here's Saffredin again.
Well, they're calling a penalty on the play. Saffredin coming out, did make some contact. This developed, it felt almost out of nothing, but penalty is the call on the play from the referee, Michael Laverne.
Yeah, my initial thought is this is going to be interesting because Saffredin does look like she does make contact, but Washington stays on her feet and then is going to initially get to this ball. We'll see. I mean, listen, she does get a hold of Washington.
It's one of those things you could see it called. It's clear she is going for the ball. Does she get it? Not really. And now she's going to have to face a penalty. This will be the first one that Virginia has faced this season, unless they opt to review it here, which it looks like that is happening. Do you have expanded video review in NCAA soccer this season? So in case you've noticed, there are a few more instances where at times the referees have gone over. That's because they can go more often with the expanded review now.
Here's that play again, Jen, and all the credit to Washington. Just that little touch to be able to get there first as Washington Saffredin has to be aggressive off her line. You see she goes down after that touch. Listen, here's the thing. Yes, right there, maybe gets a little bit on that trailing leg, but the ball is well out of the 18-yard box. There's no way she's getting to it. She still is trying to stay on her feet. I don't know, I can see this one being called back.
Yeah, I think, you know, in watching that and in listening to you as well, I think I would tend to agree with you there. Look at, and I know, look, a foul is a foul in the box. We've seen this even sometimes if a player is going the other direction, they can still call it a penalty. But goalkeepers, they do have different rules that they play by sometimes, and where else was her body going to go trying to come out and make the save? I wouldn't be surprised to see it stay the penalty. Remember, that's what was called on the field, so the referee would have to feel he sees enough to definitively overturn that call if he decides it's not a penalty. Sometimes the call on the field is really important to remember. Now, Florida State has only had a couple of penalty kick attempts on the season. They're 1 for 2 as a team. Dudley has been the player to make one. Penalty it is. So the Seminoles are going to get a chance to double their lead here from the penalty spot, and Virginia, for the first time this season, will try to keep one out. First penalty kick they have faced all season long, and it is Soleil Washington who picks up the ball. She is 0 for 1, did miss from the penalty spot earlier this season for the Seminoles, so perhaps some chance for a bit of redemption. Washington to the corner, good! And this makes it feel a lot different, doesn't it, Lori? 2-goal lead now for the Seminoles.
All the credit to Soleil Washington. She's the one that earns the penalty kick, getting there first and steps up and takes it well because she's tucking it into the corner. A little sigh of relief, it looks like, on her face, because Saffredin had guessed the right way, but kept it low. Washington snuck it past Saffredin in the end, but well done from her. Gets there first, draws the foul. Saffredin's coming off her line. Not even sure, though, Saffredin did need to come out that far. Just stay home, allow for your defenders. You're going away from goal if you're Washington. Allow your defenders to come back, but kept him in the game previously with a point-blank save on Washington before that penalty kick was called. But yeah, a big mountain for right now for the Cavaliers, away from home, to have to climb and see if they can get one back immediately. A wonderful start at home for the Florida State Seminoles.
Brian Pensky had a sense his team would come out flying, and they have been so far. 2 goals in the first 23 minutes of the match, out shooting Virginia 4-1 so far.
Well, one of the things, I love this is right below us. One of the things I love talking about with Brian Pensky this morning was just the fact that regardless of who's on their roster, if they've graduated players that had been 4- or 5-year starters who scored loads of goals, as we saw last year on the championship winning team, the standard is still the same, and you feel that tonight. They've come out, they've got on the front foot, they put Virginia under pressure. They know that this is a team that wants to keep possession. They're really good in possession, Virginia, but they've really nullified that by pinning them in, wing back, stepping up the pressure higher up the field, and so it's been difficult for Virginia to get out of their own defensive half. Great start, 2 goals to count for, and off and running in this game.
Both teams making some substitutions. Allie Ross has come on for Virginia. And Samar Guidry, player I mentioned earlier, excellent player in her time with the Cavaliers, grad student now, starter the last 4 years. Florida State number of substitutions as well. Marianela Jimenez, Taylor Suarez. Depth is something that Florida State had to do without through that 6-game stretch, where not only were they missing their 6 players who were away at the U20 World Cup, 4 with the U.S., 2 with other countries, but Soleil Washington was hurt right about that same time frame. Winaya Hudson has come into the match in the attack. Tall presence, 6'2", the freshman for the Seminoles. Beckman's still there, loses it.
Well, that gives us a really good glimpse of how difficult it is for Virginia to deal with the pressure. And Brian Pinsky did say, we want Virginia to feel the amount of numbers that we get forward, to feel the pressure from us. And because they can switch out the wing backs, now you get Suarez into this game a bit more attacking minded than you saw with Wynn in the first 20 minutes or so. They have players that can push forward, and if those angles of support, when Virginia's in possession, don't come quickly enough, they're going to turn the ball over. Then there's no outlet to be able to break free when they're looking up. It's only McCormick against 3 players.
Cagle has had very limited time on the ball, number 10 for Virginia.
And Cagle's having to drop really deep as well. Godfrey's been non-existent in terms of being able to be on the ball and make an impact. And once again, we see McCormick 3 against 1 essentially, having to do all the work up top.
By the way, I'm giggling because I just realized I think I called Hudson by her older sister's name, who plays in the NWSL now, used to play for Notre Dame. Winaya is the older sister. Rihanna is the freshman who's up there pairing with Dudley now for the Seminoles in the attack. And perhaps more attacking-minded wingbacks, if you can believe that, from the way this match started now. Ashlyn Puerta and Taylor Suarez both coming into the match. Good interchange, and the shot and the save. Given up though, follow-up is blocked. The attack just keeps coming, even though many changes in the personnel for the Seminoles on the field.
Well, that's exactly what you were talking about, though, in terms of more attack-minded players. Look at the little combination. Dudley holds it up. Then you get the runners, point-blank shot. Saffredin, well done, goes to ground quickly again, makes the save. And then you have the coverage defensively from Virginia, but they are under loads of pressure. Cagle deep in her own half. Again, there is the mismatch with McDermott higher up the field. Finding that space on the outside of the 3 center backs is going to be essential for Virginia to get any sort of foothold into this game. Right now, just can't find it. They can't find it quickly enough.
Yeah. Goals for Florida State, 4 minutes apart, and now another corner kick coming. They scored their first goal off a corner kick in the 19th minute. Much doing in the offensive end of the field for Virginia as they have to defend yet again. Puerta with the corner. Puerta and Suarez in those wingback spots, both freshmen. Nice work on the ball from McCormack.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, but that ball has to get in behind because they're going to defend facing forward. 3 players on that back line that want to be aggressive, and if it's played right into their feet, they're going to win it back. Then they got numbers in good positions to go again in combination or 1v1 for Florida State. So if McCormack can get that ball in behind, that forces those 3 center backs for Florida State to have to face their own goal and chase that ball down. That's where Virginia can gain a little bit more territory, get the advantage that we haven't seen them have in this game so far.
Florida State has very much been in control of this match thus far. And Virginia is certainly going to have some figuring out to do. Just over 15 minutes to go in the first half. Dudley. Don't be deceived by Dudley's height. She's so good with her feet as well.
Yep, so smooth.
Attack stymied at the beginning.
I'll tell you what, though, the positioning of Taylor Huff has been excellent throughout this first half. Not getting into the box too early. She's just dropping off, creating an angle, and it's really making it difficult for the decision of who's going to step to her, because it is allowing them to have a numbers up situation, because Virginia is delayed in getting the pressure to the wing backs when they drop back at times or they get forward. It's opening up space for Huff, and she's picking the right moments, the right angles to get on the ball. She's always playing forward. She can play wide, switch the point of attack when necessary as well. Excellent so far with her movement in the midfield.
Lachlan Ryan coming on for the Cavaliers, replacing Ella Carter in the midfield. Ryan really the only Virginia player in that space, and it goes over her head and to Suarez. A player who didn't get as many starts, but played in every match for the U.S. in their run to the third place finish at the U20 World Cup. This Florida State attack has just felt relentless in this first half. Not an overwhelming, but the possession has been so far in favor of the Seminoles, and playing against a team in Virginia where they usually pride themselves on being able to keep the ball. They've done that in spells, Lori, but haven't really proven to be dangerous with it yet.
I almost feel like there would be a chip on the shoulder for this Florida State team, knowing that they lost 2 in a row, did get the win against Boston College away from home. But as we were referencing earlier in this game, the standard is such that you win championships, you get to the championship games. Would have felt that uneasiness of not meeting that standard a few of those games, especially returning a lot of your starters after the U20 World Cup. So now this feels like the team for the first time this season that we're accustomed to seeing in Florida State.
In other words, watch out, everybody.
Yeah, relentless and watch out.
I mean, this is a team that, as the defending champs for preseason #1, and even with the number of players lost, you can tell the cupboard far from bare here in Tallahassee, though it was certainly down a lot during the World Cup. Saffredin comes out to punch, doesn't get it, still alive in front. Hudson makes it 3 for Florida State.
Hudson with the Seminoles score.
Oh, being relentless is exactly what we just said, and you feel that right now. It's one big ball from Simmons into the box. And rule of thumb, if you're coming off your line for Saffredin, you have to make the play. But immediately seeing Saffredin come off her line, that means the defenders have to drop in, protect the back line. Neither of those things happen in a timely manner. Saffredin misses it, keeps the ball alive for Florida State, and then Hudson in a perfect position, exactly where you want a substitute forward to be, looking to see if she can get on the end of loose balls and make an impact immediately. Well, she does for the third goal, her first. Third goal for the Seminoles, her first of the night.
And 4th of the season for the freshman Hudson from Rochester, New York. Suarez into the box now for the Seminoles, looking for another! Oh, the easy follow-up, Hudson! The goals are there for the taking right now for Florida State.
Well, in Virginia, just right now, Saffredin, just walk to get this ball, slow things down, everybody take a deep breath, because immediately, every time the ball goes back into play, they are under pressure. What an opportunity that was. And then Hudson, I don't think can believe her luck there, in the right place again, just sneaks underneath her foot. There's the follow-up that's always rising. But at this point in time, if you're Virginia, just take a deep breath, get yourself back into a position where you're not just getting shot after shot forced on your goalkeeper and your back line.
So much to be taken from this match for both teams. For Florida State, you can feel it's a real resurgence, a flex, if you will, of reminding people about the question I asked you at the beginning. Are they still the team to beat in the ACC? You said yes. They're looking like it tonight. However, with 9 teams ranked in this conference, it's important to note Florida State and Virginia are both mid to lower than mid down in the ACC standings right now, and only the top 6 teams will make the ACC tournament as it stands right now. Now that could be up for debate if that should perhaps change. It's changed on the men's side, and with a very unbalanced schedule now, with all of the new teams coming in to the ACC, the 3 new teams bringing us up to 17, doesn't even all fit on there. You have to see the 3 at the bottom. Perhaps we do need an expanded ACC tournament in this conference. But for now, top 6 make it. And Florida State close to it. 3 points would certainly help. And Virginia with some work to do to get there.
I was thinking back to the conversation with Pinsky this morning as well, and undecided, and do feel like having undecided in whether or not this was going to be their go-to formation, but also happy with it that they have several formations that they can look to depending on who the opposition is. Do they need to float in and out of, you know, starting positions looking a little bit different? But I think after this game, knowing that they're up 3-0 in this first half with still 8 minutes plus left to go, they'll think, okay, this might be the formation that we go to right now. It gives you protection on that back line. Gilchrist, the anchor, the rock, that a little solidifies them. But then also you get the width from the wing backs, able to get somebody closer to Dudley when she's in the game and play off of her and not be able to mark her out of the game as easily or at all. And then you have players like Taylor Huff that are able to float, find good angles. So right now, excellent formation with the player profile that this Florida State team has.
Rouse with a rare romp up into the box on the other side for Virginia. I mean, there are battles at every position right now. Both teams fighting hard for the ball.
And the one thing that makes this Florida State team unique, especially with getting everybody back, is they have the ability to combine. As we've seen that, they're moving it side to side, moving the ball quickly, looking to play off of one another, create the numerical advantages in terms of combination at different parts of the field. But they also have the ability in every single position to beat you 1v1. And it's so difficult to defend that when you have, if your team's not playing collectively as a unit, then you have the ability to have a little bit of individual brilliance. Tonight, we're seeing both of that. And fortunately for Virginia in this first half, they're the ones that are getting the taste of it for the first time really successfully for Florida State this season.
Cavaliers getting a little more of the ball now. There have been 5 changes made for both teams as we're under 7 minutes away from the end of the first half. Linda Midmeyer, number 11, one of those changes. Grad transfer from the University of Vienna and Austria for Virginia. Gilchrist just baiting the attacker to try to come and get it. So smart there in the back. And just, you know, you and I were watching her before the game and going back and watching some film of her. I mean, she just carries herself like a boss. Right? Isn't that what Penske said? And I think we would agree with that. Has that international experience, rarely leaves the field, and it was that way too for Gilchrist. The 5 matches she started for the U.S. at the World Cup, the U20 World Cup. She played the full 90 and then some, because they went extra time in a few of those.
And right there, you just see her experience, sees where the space is. If the angle to pass and play out of pressure deep in their own half isn't on, she'll take the space on the dribble. And that's what I was talking about and referring to in terms of individual ability to break teams down, but also do it collectively. But I like the point that you make in terms of Gilchrist in particular having that international experience, because yes, it's one thing to think about this Florida State team and reintegrating players, but as soon as they start to hit, as we're seeing now, and start to find that rhythm, you're just going to see another level, because playing at the international level gives you a different perspective. It's a higher speed game, thinking a bit faster, you're having to move a bit faster. And really, that's what we're seeing right now from this Florida State team. Everything's at a higher tempo than Virginia right now.
Gianna Riley came on for Dudley. She was tripped right outside the area. This is going to set up a free kick for the Seminoles just outside the 18. Riley, a junior transfer from Gonzaga. One of those 6 away at the U20 World Cup, one of the 4 on the U.S. team for the Seminoles. And it feels like you've heard me say that a lot tonight. Well, you have. I mean, that's what happens when you have 6 key players who were gone and are now working their way back in.
Just a late challenge coming in. Slide from Carter, definitely late, just catches.
Yeah, it was Jimenez.
Yep.
Yeah, apologies.
Slow to get up.
Said that was Riley. At first it was Marianela Jimenez.
And Carter did pick up a yellow card on that attempt. With 4 minutes left to go, Jen, it never want to be late in terms of challenges and picking up a yellow card and setting up a free kick right outside the 18-yard box. But sometimes that's what you need. You need that fight. You need somebody to go to ground, willing to get stuck in, try to make the play. It's a little something extra to put teams under pressure, try to do something to salvage this first half.
So Jimenez, a member of Venezuela's U20 national team, will come to the side. Puerta and Suarez, the 2 over the ball for the Seminoles, and you'd think, should they want it, they could go right to goal with this. Puerta takes it. You could see the dip, just not quite enough to keep it under the crossbar.
Yeah, that's always the challenge when it's that close to the 18-yard box, is if you're trying to get up and over a wall, but dip and pace to be able to beat the goalkeeper. Aiming for that far corner, I love it. You can see she just whips around her body, comes through it, just can't get the dip in time for it to come down. Good looking attempt though from Suarez. Puerta, excuse me.
Yeah, Puerta, freshman out of San Diego, 3 goals, 4 assists on the season, and really playing a relatively new position, more of a central midfielder before coming to Florida State, but played on the wing and now in this wing back position in this formation for the Seminoles. It's another late challenge there. It'll set up a free kick for Florida State. Now, one of the losses that Florida State suffered was on the road at Virginia Tech. They went to Wake Forest. Look, the Demon Deacons are having a tremendous season right now, number 2 in the country behind the Duke Blue Devils. And they lost at Wake Forest. That was just their 2nd game with all of those U20 players back. Then they went on the road to Virginia Tech and they led that game 2-0 before in Brian Penske's words, it all fell apart in the final 10 minutes where they conceded 3 goals, all of them off of set pieces. So still a long way to go in this one. We'll see if this Florida State team just keeps that pedal down, keeps pushing. It's looked that way in this first half as they have another chance here. Safferton makes her way through the crowd. Guidry and Virginia just almost needing to wipe the slate clean and keep their eyes away from the scoreboard, figure out how to get into this match because Florida State has been punishing them all night long. Suarez sending the ball central. Cagle, limited touches for the all-ACC midfielder for the Cavaliers. Simmons. Florida State calling for a handball, none given. You see some smoke billowing over the field. I'm guessing by the scent that is coming through the press box, the grill is working overtime, getting ready for halftime here.
Exactly. Like the grill's gonna need to chill.
Let's get a little smoky out here.
You feel my eyes are burning.
And I just want you to know that it's taken some amount of effort for me to stay away from any puns about how the Seminoles have been cooking in this first half. That's what we're seeing and smelling right now here in Tallahassee. Pretty impressive, not only from the starting 11 for Florida State, but this second group has continued. I think you said it so well, Lori. They're winning the 1v1 battles, and then they're also collectively winning as a team, playing well together.
Well, that's going to have to be the focus for Virginia in the second half. It is just not getting beat to the ball. First and second balls too easy. Everything has been on the front foot, won by Florida State. And Virginia has had to chase the entire match. So that's the starting point in the second half for Virginia to try to at least salvage some of this game.
3-0 the score at halftime. The Seminoles in command back on their home field at the Seminole Soccer Complex tonight. Top 25 matchup. Be cruising, but you also know a really talented opponent who knows they did not show their best in the first half in Virginia. Let's see if the Cavaliers can show a bit better of themselves. To start off this second half, Virginia 3-4-0 in conference play, 10-4-0 overall. Florida State 8-2-2, 3-2-1, defending national champs who put together their first unbeaten regular season in program history, and of course wound up finishing unbeaten with the national championship, their 4th in program history last year. To Virginia in the navy, Florida State at home in white. Got the pink numbers on those jerseys. This is their Paint It Pink game for breast cancer awareness. Jordan Dudley is back from the U20 World Cup. The ACC Freshman of the Year, making Safferton work in the opening seconds of the second half.
Oh, I think you just asked it if we're going to see the same relentless pressure. Well, there's our answer right there, because Jordan Dudley picks up this ball, one thing on her mind, keeps it close, excellent footwork, and you can see she's trying to bid it into that far post. Safferton comes up big, reads it the entire way, gets a really good push off, 2 hands, to keep it out of the back of the net and send it out for another corner kick. Just keep your eye on Taylor Huff, number 3 for Florida State. Open the scoring tonight. Got herself free off of a corner kick.
EY with the corner for the Seminoles. Virginia won it first. Florida State breaking out a relatively new formation, in case you missed it in the first half. They tried out this 3-5-2 look in their last match, which was a win at Boston College, snapped the 2-game losing streak. Quite uncharacteristic for this Florida State team over the last few years. And liking what they've seen so far in it tonight. Sophia Wynn, one of the wingbacks on the right-hand side. Ron EY on this near side as you're looking at it. Taylor Huff patrolling the midfield. EY leading Dudley. Dudley to the end line, back for Huff. Virginia still, it feels, having to be really reactive to what Florida State is doing to them, getting there just in time on that play. Carissa Beckman, senior in the midfield, number 14, and then Gilchrist behind her. Gilchrist, Simmons on it now, Van Zanten, the 3 in that 3-back. Dantas to Huff. Wynn did take a little deflection on the way in. Dudley, the beneficiary. Virginia just having trouble clearing.
Well, Virginia has to do a better job of their front runners, or even if it's just McDermott, just dropping back in or stepping up their pressure, because right now it's so easy for the 3 center backs of Florida State to play out of pressure, or the lack thereof, and just play into the midfield, and then that's forcing Virginia to have to chase, because there's always a numerical advantage. It's easy for them to build play, it's easy for Beckman and Huff to get free, and then they get numbers higher up the field with their wingbacks. So right now, starting the pressure a little bit higher, staying compact if you're Virginia. Exactly what Steve Swanson, the head coach of Virginia, was mentioning, is finding those little details where they can apply pressure and look to see if they can make it more difficult for Florida State. But this opening few minutes doesn't look like anything has changed right now.
And this Virginia team this year, desperate to prove that last year really the fluke that it appeared to be. A lot of injuries for the team that hurt them as they wound up missing out on the NCAA tournament. Snapped a streak of 28 straight appearances, first time under Steve Swanson. And this is his 25th season at Virginia that they did not go to the NCAA tournament. And now here they are, top 25 despite their struggles. Their RPI is still very high, and that's important to note. Still need to pick up some more wins though as they continue down the stretch, and just a couple of games remaining. Can't believe we're almost done with the college soccer season, but just 2 remaining after tonight. Virginia will host Clemson and then go on the road to Virginia Tech. Halloween night will be there for that one. You can see it on ACC Network on October 31st. Three defenders around Dudley, and can Virginia afford that, as well as Florida State has been attacking from multiple areas. Dudley certainly the biggest weapon that you would think about facing this Florida State team, but they have plenty. Good to see Sophia Wynn without that knee brace on. She had to wear a lot of last season, didn't play her senior year of high school. This is her 3rd year with the Seminoles, part of the championship team from 2023. Virginia giving it right back to Wynn and the Seminoles. Dudley on the move. Saffredin's out for it again. Some questionable decision making maybe, as Saffredin, is it that she's not trusting her defenders, or she's just so wary of Dudley?
Well, I think she knows she needs to be proactive and aggressive because of, one, the pace that they have, but also the skill set of this Florida State's attack. At times just too aggressive, because Mackie Kelly, for the most part, actually have done a good job of just riding the the momentum of the front runners for Florida State, seeing them out. Yes, they're giving up corner kicks, but that's in a much better position to deal with than if it's in the run of play. Florida State's 2 center forwards running at you.
Sixth corner of the match for the Seminoles. EY driven ball right toward Dudley. Took a hit as she went up for it.
Well, they did much better, Virginia, outside of that first initial goal from Taylor Huff and Florida State, conceding off the corner kick, and since then made it much more difficult for free headers. And that's why I say it's much better to just allow the 2 center backs of Mackey and Kelly to be able to ride the momentum, utilize their positioning to their advantage, and if they need to send it out for a corner kick, do. But Safford in at times, yes, does need to stay home, just read what the play's giving her.
By the way, Seminole winning this back. Dudley pushed down on the ground. Now the whistle blows, and I think we had such a great camera angle, so hopefully you could see it as well. The way Florida State attacked in just a wave of pressure as Virginia decided to take the goal kick. It wasn't the goalkeeper took it, it was one of her defenders, and it was like the whole team came at them.
Well, no doubt, and we heard Brian Pinsky say that going into halftime. That had to have been the message, because you're up 3-0, you have loads of confidence, they're moving the ball so well, they're moving it quickly, and at a speed that's been difficult for Virginia to keep up with. Can't let down in this second half, have to continue to get more goals.
Dantas, watches it go across.
Fantastic ball. Just a little bit of backspin, no one gets on the end of it, but you can see there's just a texture on it. There's the pace that you're talking about as Virginia's trying to build out, and gives it right back to Florida State.
McDermott, game winners for the Cavaliers in each of the last 2 games, has not had much of a touch tonight for Virginia at the top. It's one of those matches where it looks like, and I imagine it feels like to Virginia, like there's 12 players out there. For Florida State, it just feels like they have that advantage every time they get the ball. Where does Virginia find that, the way this match is set up, Lori?
Well, in these positions right here. Well done. That's really the first time in this game that we've seen McDermott be an outlet in those wide positions, get there first, draw the foul. And she's going to have to do that. It's not a fun task because you're 1 against 3 and not really seeing much of the ball, but to provide those angles, to be a bit of support, and then allow your team to move up and get higher up the field is going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, set pieces are what allowed Virginia Tech to climb back into the match in the last 10 minutes of their game against Florida State. Enough so that they found 3 goals in those final 10 minutes, enough to win. In fact, they had 4. They had another one that was called back due to offside. Well, what a volleyball matchup we have for you Sunday afternoon on ESPN. You can also catch it on the app as 2 of the top teams in the nation face off. Number 1, Pitt, hosting number 5, Stanford. And Fitzgerald Fieldhouse should be rocking. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. And you will also get a chance to look at the committee's NCAA reveal for the top 16 in volleyball during that match. We had that for you at halftime tonight as the women's soccer side of things. ACC teams in the top 3 spots, 9 teams ranked in the top 25 at the moment. And will this Florida State team climb into that top 16? Hosting makes such a difference. Rarely do you see a team come through to the College Cup in women's soccer that has not had an opportunity to host earlier on in the tournament. Such an advantage. McDermott, and that will be technically the 2nd save of the night for Addie Todd, who's not had to do much on the evening.
That's better from Virginia. It's those wide areas that we mentioned, just in the sides of the 3 center backs for Florida State. If you can find that area, whether it's initially McDermott or then the outside backs or the wingers at times, depending on how deep they are defensively. That is the advantage that you can get in behind the wing backs on the outside of those the three center backs, is the space that Virginia has to continue to look for.
McDermott gets around Gilchrist, who hustles to get back in position. Both she and Van Zanten there working together to win it back for Florida State. Godfrey. Look at Godfrey getting back into full form now. Will she have a chance? Maybe thought about it. Instead, looks for the pass. Cagle has been so big for this Virginia team. Got a good look at the goal.
Well, those are the two players you want on the ball. Cagle, Godfrey. Godfrey picking out Cagle in that moment, not forcing it, not just trying to settle for an attempt from outside the 18-yard box. Finds Cagle, allows her to go 1v1.
One goal on the season for Leah Godfrey, that coming in the last match for the Cavaliers as she starts to get going after missing all of last season. Cagle has been the one to carry this Virginia team offensively. 6 goals, 5 assists on the season. Tatum Galvin, junior out of Dallas, Texas, but who attended IMG Academy in high school. Has a throw and gets it back. And Virginia now will finally get their first corner of the match. This was really a point of focus for Florida State, as you would imagine, after the Virginia Tech match. Defending set pieces. Felt they were better, had the 1-0 shutout at Boston College, but let's see if Virginia can test this Florida State defense. Godfrey puts it back in play. Great run from Galvin, just couldn't quite get onto it. It will earn another corner though.
We do have number 27, Bradley, one of those players that would be the target if they choose to go direct off of this set piece instead of go short.
Also have Kiki Mackey, 5'9", standing right in front of the goalkeeper, Addie Todd, for 4 for the Cavaliers. Players in motion, ball in the air. Godfrey finding her way back onto the ball for Virginia, but gives it away. Van Zanten steps into the path, but then just can't control it.
Well, that's exactly where Van Zanten wants to be, headed towards goal.
Yeah.
And we asked that question specifically to Brian Pinsky, as she is one of those 3 center backs on the left side. Typically a player that they'll allow to get forward, have some freedom to join into the attack, but out of necessity need her to stay home a bit more often. But at the right moment, she's going to have that ability to get forward. Just couldn't keep a hold of that last ball.
You and I were talking about, I guess it was last year, because Kiki Van Zanten was with Notre Dame. Mimi Van Zanten was a freshman here for Florida State. They played, the family members were here. They had the split jerseys with both Notre Dame and Florida State on them. Family was all geared up for that
You
match.
wanted one of those jerseys.
I was really excited about the work that had been put in behind the scenes by the family. Yeah. And 2 sisters Van Zantens played for Jamaica internationally. Godfrey. This is Bradley, freshman you were just talking about for Virginia. Not too dangerous in the end for Todd. McCormack, one of the first touches she's really had in the opponent's box in this match. All freshman team a year ago, McCormack, USU 20 team member. Virginia trying to make a case for the corner. It will be a goal kick, and Florida State has, looks like 4 subs actually coming into the match now. See that Hudson is one of those. Had her 4th goal of the season, the 6'2" freshman out of Rochester, New York, in 34th minute of the first half. Try to get you all those subs as we see them all. Looks like Taylor Suarez as well. What was really impressive in the first half when Florida State made 5-6 changes, the level didn't drop. Guessing Puerta also came on. Van Zanten. See Jimenez, Puerta, Suarez. Yep, the changes along with Hudson. There's a shot, and Virginia starting to turn it on a bit.
Now Virginia's starting to give Florida State a little bit of a taste of their own medicine. Haven't been able to get out of their own half. They're starting to build with more confidence. Really wonderful turn right on top of the 18-yard box. I think it was McDermott. Just knows exactly where the goal is, gets herself on the half turn, unleashes that. Excuse me, it was McCormack with that attempt, trying to aim for that upper corner. Big time save though from Todd.
Here comes the corner, and Virginia is inching closer to finding their first goal of this match.
Yeah, and unfortunate not to find the back of the net in one of those last 2 attempts. You really need to be cutting this lead at least by 1 goal to make it a bit more nervy for Florida State, but also give yourself a little bit more confidence.
Hudson chasing it down. She will get to it. Hudson, touch too strong, but it's still there. And Virginia manages to keep it out, but that ball poked free as Saffredin not able to keep control.
Well, how quickly can they go from defense to offense is exactly how exciting this Florida State team is. It is Hudson that's trying to get on the end of it. Saffredin off her line, trying to make the play. It stays alive. Positioning behind the ball as that one's going to be sent wide from that corner kick. But the positioning from the defenders for UVA was excellent as Saffredin didn't come off her line. Galvin, the one that pinched in and cleared it. Make sure it didn't find its way into the back of the net.
And my goodness, we could have seen a hat trick tonight from Hudson. She scored the most difficult goal. She had another ball that came to her, what was it, maybe 4 yards out, and she just whiffed on it in the first half, kind of laughed at herself after that. That one would have been about the easiest you could ever get. And then that one on the breakaway, her touch, just getting away from her, taking away the opportunity.
Well, this has been the difference right here. It's McDermott. Just her energy, her ability to press and try to put those back 3 under pressure. Exactly what we said coming into this first half. Who's going to step up the line of confrontation? Who is going to not allow for this back line of Florida State to play out so easily? McDermott has stepped up to that challenge.
Question I think both coaches were asking of their teams tonight: who would be courageous? McDermott doing that, creating chances for Virginia.
That was one of the best buildups. You see the combination, the understanding between McDermott, McCormack. It's a little bit of a layoff, playing back to goal. That is an area that Steve Swanson highlighted for McDermott. Her back to goal possession allows for McCormack to come onto that ball.
Well, Saturday, the 2 best college football matchups are on ABC at 3:30 Eastern. It's number 7 Alabama traveling to Neyland Stadium, take on number 11 in Tennessee, and then at 7:30 Eastern, number 1 Texas hosting number 5 Georgia. Great matchup here. Hudson on her horse again. Causing all kinds of problems for the Virginia defense, but so far, no further dent made in the scoreboard. It's so interesting now with the way that the conference season is laid out in the ACC. that not everyone will play everyone, and it's been that way for the last few years, but now with 17 teams, there really are a large number of teams you will not see. So it's maybe tough to say this is the team to beat. There are going to be a couple of those, but I think Florida State is putting themselves out there certainly as one of them. That is always going to be tough on the schedule. Wake Forest, Duke, #1 team in the country right now. North Carolina just had their first conference loss. Incredible that 9 teams from the ACC currently in the top 25, and 5 of them in that top 16 reveal that we showed you at halftime.
The top 3 are all ACC as well.
1, 2, and 3.
Just shows how difficult this conference is, the fine margins. I mean, even in this game right now, we're seeing Virginia maybe a little too late in this game against the quality of Florida State, but moving the ball around, could have had at least 2 goals in opening 15 minutes of the second half. So even though they find themselves down 3-0, still finding moments where they can play, shift the ball around, create good chances. I mean, as we've seen too in previous seasons, it bodes well, the competition in this conference for when you get into the College Cup and prepared to face a lot of different formations, a lot of different styles of play.
Yeah, you do see a bit of everything coming through this league. Peyton McGovern, Gianna Riley, both on the field for Florida State now as well, replacing Huff and Dudley at the moment.
Well, I would say that has changed considerably actually in the last 3 or 4 years for this ACC or this conference.
In what way?
Mainly known for a possession style conference for a lot of the years, and then more recently you see BC come in, even Notre Dame, employing a bit more of a direct style, transitional style, some different formations, 3 backs, allows for more numbers higher up the field, and so just a good test, and again, prepares these teams going into the tournament.
Hudson finding Puerta. Good ball movement from the Seminoles. Jimenez find a way back to Puerta, but can't. A lot of pink in the stands tonight. It is the Paint It Pink match. Florida State working with the local hospital here to try to raise money and awareness for breast cancer survivors or those fighting the disease and their families. Always great to see what looks like some youth teams too getting to come out, and what an incredible treat they have here to watch this Florida State team go to work. Shot from distance.
They certainly move the ball really wonderfully. They move it quickly. They're finding some space to get a player open. That time it was Jimenez. Right on top of the box, leaning back though, ball's always rising.
Well, Gilchrist took a little bit of a chance there, flying forward, trying to win the ball, but that is the trust she has in those 2 other center backs around her. Simmons and Van Zandt to cover, which they did, won it back. Now Beckman leading it to the front line again. Riley on the ground, Hudson puts it out of play.
Well, I also think that is an interesting point. Love that you make about Gilchrist and her desire to win the ball higher up, be on the front foot, knows that she's going to have support. Well, that is what the 3-back gives you, especially with this Florida State team that wants to get pressure higher up the field. But that also is a sign for the opposition, also Virginia, but then also teams going forward if they're facing Florida State, is to recognize, yes, they do want to play on the front foot. They are going to take risks. So if you apply a little bit of pressure, at times you're going to win some of those first or second balls. We didn't see that enough in Virginia in the first half with the energy, their ability to try to force Florida State into those mistakes. Well, we're seeing it now. still trailing by 3, and as this clock winds down, it's below 20 minutes. It's been a tough mountain to climb.
Yeah, Allie Ross, number 8, into the attack for Virginia, one of their best finishers, according to Steve Swanson. 5 goals, 2 assists on the season for the sophomore. Cagle has had to do a lot of defensive work tonight, just trying to win the ball back for her team. Van Zanten. Puerta. Had it tapped away. Rouse just continues to go.
That's what you're talking about. Big time, 2 tackles, not allowing Florida State to be able to go 1v1. Even if they do win the ball back and now they're attacking again. Important play from Rouse.
Jimenez back to Riley. Riley wide of the goal. Well, here's our Week 8 ACC Network football lineup. Starts Saturday at noon Eastern with number 10 Clemson hosting 4-2 Virginia in Death Valley. Then NC State squares off against Cal, and we'll cap the night with number 21 SMU and Stanford at 8. Each game also available on the ESPN app. Gilchrist. Florida State playing keep away, willing to go forward still certainly, but also probably having some memory of the way that Virginia Tech match ended, knowing they need to be able to see out matches as well, be smart with the lead, with the ball. You are allowed re-entry in college soccer in the second half. Could see some of those starters coming back on for Florida State. What they are also getting right now with the Pitt Panthers coming here to Tallahassee this weekend is some rest for their starters. And when you have those 2-game weekends, that is so key. As you well know, Lori, those Sunday matchups can be tough. Thursday, Sunday, a couple of days in between, and the way the schedules are set up, every team has that every weekend. Hudson will give chase again. Godfrey, just haven't seen enough from her tonight. Know what a special player she is for Virginia. First team All-American her last season. She was healthy in 2022. Beckman wants Riley to go this time. Did Riley time it right? Stay on side, looks that way. Hudson creeping in front, off the post and in! Gianna Riley with some icing on the cake for the Seminoles.
So you can see the entire time what Riley was aiming for. Just gets exactly the matchup. There's a little step over that allows the separation, and then the rest is history because it's an excellent finish right there. Just gets a little glance, gets her head up, picks out that far post, spins it in, one post off to the next, and makes it 4 in the night for Florida State. What a goal that is for Gianna Riley. Such a class finish. And you said it perfectly, Jen. Especially in the first half, regardless of who's on the field, the standard's high, everybody's contributing, making a statement. And that certainly was won by Riley.
second goal of the season for the junior transfer from Gonzaga. Big time goal scorer for the Zags last year. All conference first team in the WCC, had 12 goals. And now I'm not entirely sure what's happening as both teams, I guess they're looking back at the goal, maybe? Both teams going to the benches. As it stands, 4 goals are the most that Virginia has conceded all season long.
And here's the goal, and I just love this from Riley because she slows herself down, again, tries to get the defender to be squared up, does exactly that against Kelly. It slows her down, then the change of pace comes. There's the big ball over the top that allows her to get in this position, gets there first, gets the matchup she wants, but there's the change of pace. Slow, last second, step over, creates a separation, has wrong-footed Kelly already, uses that momentum, spins it around, far post.
And I'm imagining, Lori, they're maybe looking if offside comes into play here.
It was tough on that angle.
Goal is good. So we think that's likely what they were looking at, and perhaps it could have been, was Hudson in an offside position enough to potentially block the goalkeeper, maybe? There's no question there. The run from Riley is good, but right here, Hudson probably is offside. But
I mean, yeah, I mean, the case would be, is she interfering? And I mean, Riley does such a good job of creating that. One from the initial run to get on the end of it. The second is just to slow Kelly down, wrong footer, and then aim for the far post perfectly.
Yeah. Most goals for the Seminoles since their ACC opener against Syracuse on September 19th. They won that one 5-1. Puzzle pieces starting to come together for Brian Penske and his staff here in Tallahassee. Riley brought that ball down beautifully, put it right in the path of Suarez. Seminoles looking for that far corner again.
They're showing and continuously showing the variety, because there's a lot of different player profiles on this Florida State team. You got players that want to go 1v1. You have players that can go in combination. As we mentioned in the first half, almost all of them can do both of that too. It just looks a little bit differently depending on who's on the field. Case in point, whether it's Wynn and EY, a bit more defensive in their starting positions. Then you bring on Puerta, you bring on Suarez, much more attacking minded at times as well. So a lot of different looks that this Florida State team has. It's been a complete performance so far.
And Virginia gonna have to try to figure out where they go from here. Hasn't been perfect the last 2 games, even though they were both victories and they needed those badly after 4 straight losses. But Steve Swanson even telling us earlier today, we did not play as well. He thought they played very well at home against NC State last Thursday, a 3-0 victory. Said we did not play as well when we had SMU in town on Sunday. They got the win, but there were some things he knew his team was not doing as well, and they've been made to pay for it tonight.
Well, they're certainly going to have to turn around quickly, have a short-term memory, but learn from this as well in terms of, even if a team is outplaying you, how do you get yourself into this game? What things you can control? They have Clemson next, and that's a team that's fighting for their lives as well in the ACC. You're going to want to pick up some points, so important game for the Cavaliers.
I want to talk about some of those lessons Virginia might be taking out of this in a minute as Parker goes down and Virginia able to come away with it. 3 defenders there helping to win the ball back. You can hear Some oohs and ahs from the crowd, liking what they're seeing from this Seminole squad tonight. You know, it's hard to see where the cameras are here. The crowd all in front of us for the most part here in Tallahassee, but they're sitting on the hill. The stand's pretty full on our side here underneath the announce booth. Puerta. Bends it across, headed down, but offside. Easy one for the AR to call this time around on Riley. You know, this Florida State team said they felt like they were starting from scratch, almost like the beginning of the season when they took on Clemson in that rescheduled game due to Hurricane Helene. It got pushed back a couple of days. It was September 28th. Ryan Penske said he looked around, he said, I didn't know what to expect. Another shot here sends Saffordin flying. But now they've had a few games to figure things out a little bit. He said, you know, there were questions from the players who had been playing. What's my role now that these 6 players are back? The questions from the players who'd been at the World Cup. Where do I fit back in? Now they're starting to figure that out, and it's showing in their play on the field. There you see those 6 players I've mentioned a number of times tonight. Hard not to when there are 6 on your squad. And in case you're wondering, we were able to look for the U.S. By far, those 4 U.S. players. That's the most of any college team in the country that Florida State had representing the USA at the U20 World Cup. But with those 6 players, I don't know that we ever got it definitively, but I'm pretty confident in saying that's the most of any college team in the country in terms of players that were away on international duty. And, you know, for the U.S. players, they missed 6 games here.
Yep. Well, and I think that you said it perfectly. I mean, this is a team, now that they're back together, the roles are starting to be more clear. Brian Penske and his staff feels like that this formation in particular helps make those roles clear. As here they come again.
Riley, bouncing ball, Dantas back into the match.
But I also think it goes back to, yes, it's been difficult because you miss so many players and reintegrating them, and again, what is the clarity of the roles and where does everybody fit in? And as that starts to work its way through, as we're seeing tonight, it has, then now you can start to see that higher level of play. And I've seen it time and time again in my playing career, but then post-playing career as well. Once you hit an international level of play, there is no turning back because there's a higher speed. You expect the pressure to come defensively. And if you can bring that to your club team, to your professional team, regardless of where you're playing, you're just going to be performing at a higher level. And to have 6 of those players, yes, it's taken a little bit to work its way through, but now you're just seeing this Florida State team is playing at a higher level than anybody right now. And case in point with Virginia, been a tough night for them to even get pressure on the ball or show their true identity.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I wish that Florida State Wake Forest matchup could have happened now or later in the season. And I'm not taking anything away from Wake Forest. They looked great, and they have looked great all season long. But maybe that's a matchup you could get in the ACC tournament, maybe the NCAA tournament. You never know. And one that is coming up for Florida State, their next 2 matches are at home. They've got 3 remaining. Virginia has just 2 left after tonight. But Florida State has Pitt, which is a dangerous team. Sherry Serpansky has been leading the nation in assists this season, and then in comes North Carolina. That should be a heck of a match to keep your eye on October 25th here in Tallahassee. Seminoles finish out traveling to Miami, so North Carolina game will be their final home game unless they make their way into that top 16 and get an opportunity to host in the NCAA tournament. By the way, Virginia, 4 goals conceded. I said the most this season. And in fact, that's the most since 2021 that this Virginia Cavalier team has given up in a match. It was a 4-2 loss against Penn State 3 years ago. curious for you, Lori, who has been, I'll say one of, or maybe the most impressive player on the field for you here tonight? I'll give you, you can take a little time to think about it. I'm putting you on the spot just a bit.
Yeah, you're always trying to put me on the spot in these,
gotta keep you on your toes.
situations. You know, to be honest, I think the positioning of Gilchrist in the back three has been immense because they've done such a good job of one, squeezing the game when necessary, but then also building out of the back, going themselves if they can break pressure, passing out of pressure. And really, it's made it difficult for Virginia to get any sort of pressure higher up the field, especially in that first half. And that's going to be important. As they've changed, it's only the second game that they played in this formation. Gilchrist, we know, is the rock, so she's going to have to continue to lead that back line because there's going to be more and more challenges, whether they find themselves down, don't start the game quickly, whatever that looks like for Florida State. They're going to have to weather some of those storms eventually, but I think the positioning of those three has been excellent in these moments to be patient and then find the front runners to allow them to do what they can do. And it's also allowed those wingbacks to get higher up the field because one of the issues that they had last game against Boston College, and yes, Boston College is a much more direct team than Virginia, but as they couldn't release their wingbacks to get higher up the field, join into the attack, well, they have tonight, and that started with some of the positioning of Van Zanten, Gilchrist, and Simmons. Been tremendous.
Yeah, I'd say this little three-back, wing-back experiment for Florida State has been a good one thus far. And enjoyed getting a chance to talk not only with Brian Penske, but his assistants, Jonathan Bornstein, Micah Bledsoe. And if that name sounds familiar, remember Aubrey, formerly Bledsoe, played at Wake Forest as a goalkeeper. Now it's Aubrey Kingsbury, plays for the Washington Spirit in the NWSL. That's her brother on staff, but enjoyed talking with all of them, and they were all pointing out, you know, how valuable that versatility is, both individually in your players to play some different positions, but also to be able to shift into a couple different formations as the match asks of you as this season progresses. A lot of changes, including goalkeeper even now for Florida State, as Maddie Smith, fifth-year goalkeeper, makes her second appearance of the season, transfer from Maryland. Didn't play at all last season due to injury. Now gets her second appearance in the last few minutes to close this one out. Try to hang on to the shutout. Addie Todd doing her job as well as that defense in front of her, holding Virginia. Just 6 shots in the match, 4 of those on goal. Florida State, to their offensive credit, 20 shots in the match, 9 on goal, 5 saves having to be made by Vicky Saffredin in the other goal. Nina Norshi, Camille Ash, Olivia Lebdowie all onto the field as well for Florida State, getting some time here in these final minutes. I think we are, Lori, looking at a really good Florida State team, but how much concern do you have for Virginia in terms of where they go from here?
I think that the important thing for Virginia is to know that in these times, they have to continue to still find ways to play their game. And we saw at the opening of the second half is when they establish some possession, there's a little bit more eagerness to apply pressure, again, to step up their defensive line. As we're seeing right now, we did not see this at all in the first half. The ability to win the ball first. So I wouldn't say there's a lot of concern. It's just, okay, what is the game presenting? What are the challenges? We get pressure coming from all angles against this Florida State team. We're having a really difficult time keeping possession. Who's going to step up in those moments? And I think that's really the biggest takeaway is who's going to be the leaders and say, okay, listen, we need to slow ourselves down. We need to connect a few passes to get ourselves into this game, or boot it into the stands and regroup and not just continue to be under immense amount of pressure from this Florida State team. We didn't see any of that. So those are the smallest little details that do make a difference come postseason play. And it's going to be important down the stretch for the Cavaliers to get themselves into those matches.
Yeah, remember that The RPI is still very good, top 15 for Virginia. And that's true reflection of the quality of their schedule, the difficulty of their opponents. I mean, they start off 1-4 in ACC play, but that involves Wake Forest, who at the time was not ranked. And then 16th ranked Notre Dame. They were at number 4 North Carolina, at number 2 Duke, and now here they are at Florida State, which is currently number 22, but I think you're going to see the Seminoles start to climb back up in those rankings as well, especially if they can put together some back-to-back results as impressive as this one. Mark Guidry into the match for Virginia. And getting Alexis Theoret back, if they can, they sure hope that's the case, will be a big bonus for the Cavaliers as well. Carter with the shot, not on target. Junior from Troy, Michigan, taking her chances. Both teams looking to finish strong, and you think Maura Kelly, their number 20, played every minute thus far for Virginia, and fresh legs all over coming flying at her for the Seminoles. Another little question for you here. Were you waiting for it? What I was going to come up with? Okay.
I actually was just thought we were just going to ride this out in silence.
No, no, I'm ready with one more, because I'm with you. Gilchrist, I think, has been really impressive. I'm curious on the offensive end, who you really enjoyed watching for Florida State tonight, as they're on the attack here again. We'll take some time in the corner. A lot of options, I feel like.
Well, the one that I pointed out, especially in the first half, and we spoke about her coming into this game, she's going to be the glue, especially in terms of orchestrating the attack, is Taylor Huff. I thought she was excellent tonight. She opened the scoring, but then she also was creating angles, creating moments to get other players involved in this. And I think with the amount of rotations that we're starting to see now that everyone's back healthy, everyone's back from the U20 World Cup, you have to have players, because if you can go individually, that's great. But to break teams down, to be successful, you're going to need all of these attackers down the stretch for Florida State. And then I'll say, Riley, coming on, scoring that 4th goal, I thought it was an excellent goal. And you need that. Players coming off the bench, feeling confident, willing to take players on.
It has been all Florida State tonight, a 4-0 shutout of 23 ranked Virginia. And the Seminoles put back-to-back wins together after losing 2 in a row in ACC.